Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Got Mental Health Podcast. I am your co-host, Rachel Cove. I am a multi-passionate entrepreneur, author, artist, mother, and certified recovery coach.
I'm your co-host, Arthur Mogilevsky, entrepreneur, girl dad, animal activist, and owner of AM Healthcare, a premier substance abuse and mental health treatment program.
With the collective experience of 21 years working in the mental health field, we are excited to bring to you a safe and fun place to talk all things mental health.
We will be interviewing experts, thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals in the entertainment industry to better educate, inform, and inspire our community to have positive mental wealth.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Got Mental Health Podcast. I am your co-host, Rachel Cove, along with my other co-host, Arthur Mogilevsky.
Mogilevsky, Rachel.
I know, Mogilevsky.
Fine.
I can say
Oh, she did it.
Mogilevsky.
See, this is what I felt like when I was in Japan.
What?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Okay. As in all seriousness, even though when you and I are just talking, we can't help but
not be serious.
Exactly. You are about to. I just found out about this. You're so secretive. Sometimes
the Russian way.
Do I even know you?
Maybe.
I don't. Do I?
A little bit.
You're not who you put out there.
Not at all.
It's really scary.
It kind of is.
Your poker face. I actually really admire it.
I don't have a poker face.
Yes, you do.
I'm really bad at that.
You absolutely have a poker face.
Okay.
You do.
All right.
You didn't tell me this. For how long have you been doing it?
What?
Your Medicaid program.
Doing it or planning for it?
All the above.
Planning for it, years. Doing it, probably 6 months to a year. Planning it.
Okay. I feel like
serious doing planning.
So was my toe... I feel like my toe's been in like the territory.
Yeah, I was in it. I mean, listen, I feel like disclosure, I'm not one of those kinds of people that thinks that disclosing everything as it comes up is a great way.
I really value that.
You really never know where it's going to end up going. So what's the point of getting the hype without having some assurity?
I just had that conversation with my best friend last night.
What was that about?
I told him, I said, I think I'm in a new phase of life where I'm not going to tell anybody anything that's happening to me until it's done. Because I feel like I've actually had that conversation with you before.
Yeah.
Around.
No, that's about getting excited.
You also verbally abused me and said that I get excited about everything.
I did not do any of that.
He did not verbally abuse me. But you did tell me I get excited about everything, which I guess I kind of do.
I think it's good to get excited. I think letting the world know that you're excited about something, I think it doesn't have to be 100% there. You know what I mean? I feel like if you're 80% there on the project or the thing that you're excited about, I think at that point it's good to get it, release it. It's like giving birth, right? Or like having a baby. You don't tell the first 2-3 months, right? Because there's a lot of complications, a lot of things can go wrong. I mean, maybe you're close to your parents, you can tell. But then you start telling the world in like 5 months, 4 months, 6 months, because then it's like, okay, the likelihood of this happening probability is very high. Same thing with life. I feel like, going back to the Medicaid project, like I've been wanting and planning for years, but until I had like some solid pieces in place, until I had the properties and, the person that I'm going to partner with and do it with, and, a lot of the big pieces, I didn't want to say anything. Now that those pieces are in place, like, yeah, we're not operating, but I'm still I'm telling people, right? Because for things not to work out, it's less likely. You know what I mean? And if something comes up, I know I'll be able to deal with it and fix it.
Well, it's all very elusive right now because we still haven't even told our audience what we're talking about.
I know.
Also when I listen to other podcasts and I hear them laughing, I actually get annoyed because a part of me feels like I'm not
there.
I'm not a part of their laughter.
Right.
So I hope.
Who cares?
I want to be like you when I grow up.
Yeah, whatever.
When I'm doing things in life, I say to myself, how would Arthur respond to this? You think I'm joking, but I actually think, I'm like, how would Arthur respond to this?
Fuck it.
That's right. He would probably say something negative.
That's not negative.
You're a pessimist.
I'm an optimist.
You are not an optimist.
I'm an optimist. I'm both.
I don't know if you're just in a phase right now.
Of being a pessimist?
Yes.
where nothing's going to work. No. I feel like there's a balance.
There's a balance, but let's bring it back to
The
you,
project.
something that you're optimistic about.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm really excited for you.
Thank you.
So I went on Facebook.
What are we excited about?
Okay, well, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I went on Facebook. This was probably like 3 weeks ago,
Mhm.
right? Or 3.5 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And I saw a house on there.
Yeah.
I'm
Like just the picture of the house.
just a picture of the house.
Yeah, I'm teasing. I'm playing with
such
I'm
a-
playing with the art of teasing
You're
right
like taking
now.
the feather.
Oh yeah. Like I just came back from a conference, a recovery conference, and
Did you dominate the conference?
yes. Walked around like the dominant one. No, it's a fun conference. It's like a high school reunion. Everybody gets together, they take a bunch of selfies, drink a bunch of coffee, schmooze, and never do any business together. But that's besides the point. So I went to this conference and tons of people were coming up to me. They're like, "So what are you doing? What is this house? What is this project?" Like, like it's like this thing, this buzz, right? So it kind of worked. So I'm really excited about this whole teasing process. So I started off with a picture. Then I started off with another picture, and it was a picture of our contract.
You were in your underwear next to a house.
Yes.
That's what I want everyone to hear.
Look it up.
Just kidding.
No, so there was a picture of a contract, and then there was a video of me walking through the entire property. So full disclosure, we're very excited about opening up a Medicaid, a Medi-Cal program for mental health.
This is huge.
Ginormous.
Like ginormous.
Ginormous. Can I tell you why? Is that what this podcast is for?
Arthur, can you tell me why this is huge?
This is so huge.
Why is it huge?
No, I'm really excited about it, honestly. And
It's nice to hear you excited about something.
it comes once in a while. So I think that we systemically have an issue with not being able to provide quality care. So since the Reagan administration, when they shut down psychiatric hospitals and inpatient mental health facilities, right? So they were trying to budget everything out for the state of California, and they shut down probably the most important piece of mental health and substance abuse care that this state has ever seen. And they shut down a lot of these hospitals and programs that really were a foundational beginning for a lot of patients to access quality care, where the state of California really, for many years, hasn't really had a robust system to be able to curb and deal with the mental health and the homelessness and the substance use population for individuals who are not well funded, low income, don't have private insurance, don't have the means or ability to do that. Go into these facilities that that you would normally see on TV. And so even until this point now, there have been very limited resources and programs. Like if you need to be 5150 or put on a psychiatric hold, or you need to go to an inpatient hospital facility that specializes in mental health, there's very few resources. It's not like every hospital can manage that. You can't just go to any hospital and they'll admit you. There's hospitals that you go into, and like for instance, Cedars-Sinai, if you go in there with in a manic episode or in a state of psychosis, and or you're feeling suicidal, you can't just walk in there. They'll assess you, admit you, and you could be on a hold there. Now there are some privileges, so each hospital does have abilities to be able to do, but they don't have specific units. They don't have specific facilities for that. So what they'll typically do is they'll assess and refer out to a hospital that can take you in, right? And at the same time, you also, a lot of times when you're in those states of mind, it's scary walking into a hospital, walking into a unit or a facility. They're not remodeled. They're not beautiful. They're not colored a bright, colorful, hot pink or a light blue and a warm kind of nice bedding and nice kind of setup. And so it adds on to that fear and that anxiety and that scare. And then you have the inpatient facilities like the Tarzana treatments and the Cry Helps and facilities that are not hospital based. They're more in commercial properties, but they're also still scary. and there's people still throwing drugs over the fences. They're not well secured and well kind of run in a sense where you have the best opportunity for success within those systems. They're great. I mean, I can only imagine if they didn't exist, it'd be even worse, right? But so anyway, so going back to it, ever since the Reagan administration, when they shut down a lot of these programs, there really haven't been specialized programs to help deal with mental health and severe mental health. Now with the problem that California has been dealing with homeless population, with the lack of housing, and the uptick in mental health and the migration of a lot of people from other states coming to California, either because of the legalization of marijuana or the weather or whatever it is, there isn't a infrastructure or foundation to be able to provide quality care or even housing for this population. And so the state of California has implemented financial programs that incentivize private entities or nonprofits to expand and build out and grow mental health programs, substance abuse programs, not only for the Medicaid population, low income population, but also for private, but more so for the Medicaid population. And so I've been in the substance abuse and mental health space for coming on 10 years now. And I think that, the thing that I've personally have been really excited about and it have been missing out on within our system is creating something for those who need it the most, right? Not that, the people who have private insurance or private funding don't need it, but they have an easier outlet to access it. Whereas patients who struggle with those things and have Medi-Cal or low income or no income at all, it's very hard for them to get help. And usually they're mistreated and they're treated just a pawn in a sense. Like here's, come in and get out, and there's no structure, there's no case management, there's no aftercare planning. It's the same thing with people coming out of the prison systems, the reintegration process. The chances of success is really low because they just don't have enough programs out there to create a strong foundation for these individuals. And so the opportunity came up, and we crunched some numbers, and I partnered with a phenomenal clinician who ran a very large program in Riverside County. And we ran the numbers, we crunched it, and we have identified a way to make it work financially, to do it in a nice, beautiful residential setting where patients can feel like they're at home, where they don't feel like they're in a hospital or an institution or, a scary place. And they feel like they can be a bit more comfortable. And it gives us that window of opportunity to provide not only the clinical care and the psychiatric care that they need, but also, I think more importantly, the life coaching and the case management component.
Mm.
I know it's a lot. I just dumped a bunch. But.
Well, but everything you said is so interesting. I mean, you know so much about this.
No, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning a lot. I don't think I've even touched the surface on what it's going to look like and how it's going to develop. I'm really excited because I think that once we start, we're really going to learn and adapt to figuring out the best that we can do within the budget that we're allocated.
I want you to pretend, and it's not going to take a lot of pretending because I am legitimately pretty ignorant around this stuff. I know nothing. Okay. Let's say I am someone that is covered by, it's Medicaid or Medi-Cal.
It's Medi-Cal.
So Medi-Cal and Medicaid are the same thing?
They are. So Medi-Cal is like Medi and then Cal for California. Every state has its own Medi-Cal program.
Sorry to interrupt.
So that's okay.
I always thought that Medi-Cal was for 1 year older, like after you're 65.
That's Medicare.
Oh.
Right. And you can actually still get Medicare even at a younger age, but it depends on your disability.
So Medicaid and Medi-Cal is something you don't pay for?
No, it's provided by the state.
Okay, so it's provided by the state. And so
you don't pay for Medicare either. I mean, you do if you're an employee of the state, so you're paying into Medicare from your paycheck every paycheck.
So why haven't there been many people that are doing what you're doing?
Honestly, a lot. And I hate to put it this way, it's a different type of population that it's a bit more difficult. You're dealing with a lot of a lot of the homeless population that is used to being out on the streets. It's a different psyche. It's a different way of looking at things. So it is a bit more of a difficult population to work with. And again, I hate saying it that way because no everybody's difficult really in their own way, but it's just a little bit different. Okay.
Well, I spent a lot of time, about a year and a half, going to Skid Row.
Mm-hmm.
Every Sunday, I went to a meeting on Skid Row, and
Awesome.
so I was walking the streets, and then I would go feed the homeless at the Midnight Mission.
Mm-hmm.
So, is it like, are you familiar with the Midnight Mission?
Mm-hmm.
Is it similar to the Midnight Mission?
No, because Midnight Mission is it's a safe haven for people to go to for resources and food and shelter, and so it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And they solve your initial basis, right? You need clothing, food, kind of an initial touch point, right? So it's great, but it's missing an intensive clinical setting, right? I don't know if they provide psychiatric care or clinical care there.
I thought they did
They do.
treatment.
They do.
I could be wrong. I don't know for sure.
I don't know. I don't know the detail. Maybe they do, but I think it's also long-term case management, life coaching, reintegration, setting up with a lot of those types of things.
So, is your facility going to be providing therapy?
Yes,
Wow.
6 hours a day.
Shut up.
Yeah,
Why do I say shut up?
I don't know.
Is there a movie like that?
Shut up.
Shut up.
Shut up.
Shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, I can't remember what movie that's called. As F. Okay, anyway, ADHD is real, people.
Mm-hmm.
So, 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
Of therapy plus case management plus life coaching.
Groups, individual therapy, and coaching.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is really, really exciting.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I mean, I think, and having worked with a lot of people who have struggled with addiction, and again, I know this is like, it's sensitive, right? Because I'm not saying that population, but I think one of the things I've talked a lot about with people who have been homeless is you're very much kind of living very primitively. You're living like an animal in a sense. Like I'm homeless and I care about my drugs and I care about my shelter and I care about my food and that's it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of the times they get really familiar with that lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
and it becomes really comfortable.
Oh yeah. When I was in the geriatric world, we had a patient who we brought into our assisted living facility. He was 70-year-old veteran. And he was receiving with VA benefits and Social Security close to $5,000 a month in income.
Wow.
He left after a day. He could not be confined to the four-wall. I mean, and it was a beautiful facility. He could not be confined. He felt more comfortable being free and out in the open. And that's a huge piece to it, right? We're definitely aware that that's going to be a big component to the type of clientele we're going to be working with. A lot of people, there's this misnomer that, well, they're homeless because they choose to be homeless, or they don't choose to be homeless, and why can't they just find a place to live? A lot of times that psyche is, I don't want to be confined to a property setting or four walls. I want to be out in the open, and I want to have that freedom. And so there's a lot of challenges, in the States. I've had so many conversations with like friends, and it's like, oh, all these homeless people, they're all drug addicts and all this. And it's like, no, there's so many reasons why someone can be homeless or be struggling, right? Mental health is the biggest. Substance abuse, it could be financial. Being homeless for so long that at this point you don't know any better and you don't want to know any better. There's so many aspects to being homeless or struggling with homelessness, that there's not one answer fix all, right? But so there's a lot of projects where they're developing apartment buildings and small homes and communities just to put these people in there, and it's already setting it up for failure. Like, it's not for them, it's not just so they can put a roof overhead. Yes, there is that person who can't afford to live in LA anymore, or San Francisco, or whatever, because of the prices of the housing of the local housing market, and that will solve that community's problems. But you're dealing also with a population that they don't want to live under a roof; they want to live out in the open, right? And then you're dealing with a population that they don't know the difference.
Mm.
right? And so there's so many subsects that it's not one solution solves everything, right? Like I have a friend of mine who insensitively says, "Well, let's just build a whole community out in the desert and just ship everybody out there." It's like, well, that's not a solution because these are these are human beings.
Well, I think with your facility, you're almost reintroducing them to a sense of humanity again.
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal, right? I mean, that's the first step is make it, and we have the same approach with clients that come through our current programs, right? Like show a client the respect that they don't think that they deserve, and then you're gonna kind of open their heart and their mind that maybe they do deserve it, right? I mean, we have tons of clients that come through our doors now, and they don't feel like with the things that they've done that they deserve anybody's respect. And the moment we show it to them, they're a little bit, they're a little bit struck by that because in their mind, they're lower than dirt, right? And they're not. They're humans. They've made mistakes. They've went through challenging times, and I'm not trying to give excuses for everything they've done, but if you come from a loving and open-minded place like that, you give them a higher chance of success. If your ultimate goal is to decrease homelessness, decrease mental health, increase, you know, self structure and motivation and joy and happiness and all of those things that come with it, you have to meet the client where they're at. And so I think the first step is creating an environment that's welcoming. That was our goal. I mean, we're building these houses from the ground up. These are gonna be brand new 16-foot vaulted ceilings with a chef. I mean, you're gonna have like there's a pool, there's gonna be common areas if they want to smoke outside, obviously. And there's gonna be a basketball court, there's gonna be cool stuff. And it's gonna be an environment where they're gonna feel welcome.
A singer.
Right. The singer
Me.
performing, we do some dance therapy. A lot that was my vision long term. And we approached Department of Mental Health with my partner. I think it was like 5 years ago. They started giving window of opportunity for these types of programs to be developed by private entities, and it was encumbersome. Like we came to them with a program solution where we were going to take over, let's say, a large nursing home. We were going to convert it. That was going to be our intake stabilization, our 72-hour to 1 week stabilization program. Right. Once the patient was stabilized, then we would have an apartment building that was adjacent or close by where they would move to for daily living, right? Where we would have case management on site and they would live as if they would normally live on their own, but they would have case management, they would have medical follow-up care, they would have that component. And so it's a full continuum of care, right? It was a beautiful design. It was a long-term program, but long term, it could have had amazing success, right? We brought this over to the Department of Mental Health, and we had a meeting with the director, subdirector, forgot who. And the response was, okay, put in proposals, submit it online, and we'll review it with the other proposals. And we're like, we're giving you guys a solution. We've been doing this for 20 plus years. My business partner has been doing this forever. She's a licensed clinical social worker. I've been doing this for 10 years in the mental health substance abuse space, 10 years in the geriatric. What more do you need, right? And so they create such a difficult process to like put something together that you ask the question, why don't more people do it? It's just so hard. It was very hard. They made it very hard. It was a lot of red tape. It was a very old school process. Now it's a little bit easier. Now because it's so bad at this point, as a society, we're always reacting rather than being proactive. So now the society is reacting, and now, elections are being run based off of I'm going to solve the homeless population and that pandemic and all these other things. And so now there's a little bit more interest to get things going. So we got our contract with the county within 3 weeks, which is unheard of. Now, again, it's not that easy. Like we obviously had to prepare a lot. We have the resumes and the recommendations we submitted were pretty strong, but we were able to get it pretty quickly. And so So I think there's a little bit more leeway. I think that's what kind of really is pushing us to move faster now, where the state and the counties are giving us an easier process to work with. Um, and so yeah, but I mean, I think that there's a lot of room for opportunity right now for um, other players to come in that want to do it for the right reasons and create something really beautiful.
So how many people live in the house?
So there's gonna be 6 clients per house. There's gonna be 4 properties on the lot.
Wow, it's a
Yeah,
big piece of land.
yeah.
Where did you find the land?
It's Canoga Park.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you went shopping for land for a while then.
Uh, One of my business partners is a realtor in the
One of your 3,000 business partners?
Yeah, one of them. He's a developer, and so they had the property, and so we're fortunate enough. That's the other thing. It's difficult to find properties to deal with these types of projects, because to jump into a commercial building, it's very difficult. You can't just get any commercial building.
So you built it from the ground up.
So building it from the ground up. Yeah.
Okay. Well, next up is New Mexico on my land.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. So that wasn't like by the way, please don't like message me all over and say that you want to build something on my land. It wasn't an invitation. It's just Arthur. So that's really admirable. You're kind of like this enigma because usually people in the treatment world have a history of addiction and then they start a treatment program or they're like 2 months sober and then they start a rehab facility
Or they're a life coach.
right. They're a recovery coach, right?
Yeah.
But you don't have a history of addiction problems per se.
No.
And you didn't grow up in a family where people were homeless, correct?
No.
So where does that desire come from?
I think it's a balance of, I don't want to, first of all, I don't want to come off across like I'm this, Mother Teresa character.
You're
Like,
not.
No. It's a balance, right? I always believe in the fact that I love making money. I love building stuff. And if I can create something in my life where I can have that, but at the same time fulfill a purpose of mine, which I feel is to help other people, then it's the beautiful balance of a world, right? And so obviously we could have done this a long time ago. Could have dumped a ton of money into it. Could have made absolutely nothing, but saved so many people's lives. And I think that would have been great. But I also like to make money, and I like to grow businesses, and I like to make it so that it's feasible and sustainable long term.
I love that you own that.
I mean, that's the truth though. Like, and most people who, not most, but the people who say, I'm all in it just to help people. Let me see what you say when the mic's turned off and the cameras are turned off, and then we can really judge whether or not that's not the case. And so, yeah, I have to make money. It has to make sense because I know how much time, crying, sweating, bleeding, worrying, stressing it's gonna take to build this. And so the value is not just in I love the stories of like we had our alumni, we had a 1-year bash of our alumni party the other day, and unfortunately I wasn't able to make it.
Same.
But so many people were coming up to my wife who was there, and she was saying, "Man, I wish Arthur was here. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here right now. Like he picked up his phone, and he that's I'm getting goosebumps. Like I love that. I love the fact that person, their life is in such a better place." And so that brings me joy and happiness. Now, if I can take that and I can earn a living off of it, and I can actually support my family and support my dreams and goals, that's a win-win. And so I think now that we've come to a place with this project where we can have both, I haven't been so excited about a project as I am with this one, because I think it's can grow exponentially from a business side.
To New Mexico.
To New Mexico. And from a moral and humane side, I can actually dent the problems that we're facing as a society.
I mean, you really can.
100% we can.
How long is the program once you start?
The beautiful thing is that with these types of programs and the type of cases that we're going to be working with, they can be within our care for a year.
Will there be any psychedelic treatment if that becomes legal?
Maybe not, depending on where they're at. Most of the patients that we're going to be dealing with are going to be severe mental health, so psychedelics might trigger certain responses.
That's MDMA.
Right. But again, by the time that becomes legal and
Insurance companies, we have
yeah.
this like love-hate relationship with them, right?
Right.
Because we can't get clients unless they're insured or private pay, which
Right.
is much less.
Right.
And yet they're not covered for very long, right?
Right.
4 to 6 months.
It depends. It depends on how you structure it. Yeah.
Which is interesting because in my experience, 13 years doing this, it's around 6 months when people tend to go back to substances.
Yeah. Typically 6 months to a year.
Yeah. So it's really, I don't know if the process is just
Mm-hmm.
completely set up for failure so that they can just keep, but that doesn't make sense either, right? Because if they keep going back to treatment, they end up not getting covered, right?
So the thing is with mental health and substance use, so first of all, you got to differentiate the two, right? They can be together and they can be separate, right? Not everybody who has mental health has substance use issues. Everybody who has substance abuse issues has mental health issues. So it's two different things.
And then there's also mental health issues, and then there's severe mental health issues.
Yeah, there's severe, of course. But that scale that's fairly wide. So mental health and substance abuse there's a stigma behind it. And I'm not talking about the stigma of I'm not willing to admit that I have a problem, right? There's a stigma within our culture that it's an uncurable disease, right? And the eyes of the insurance companies, the eyes of the ones who make the decisions, in their mind, it's a disease that is incurable. It's not cancer. It's not a broken foot. So when they're creating their billing codes and their authorization codes and their processes, and they're building all of this out for every type of disease and illness and thing that you can have, mental health, it's a wide open thing because there hasn't been proven to be anything that can cure it, right? You have your traditional community-based programs, your AA, your NACA, Smart Recovery, they haven't cured anybody. They help, and they've helped millions of people. But compared to the amount of people that are struggling, it's a very small percentage, right?
So measuring cure, like I have depression,
How do you even measure cure, right? When it comes to mental health, right? It's very difficult, right? There are scales, there are systems that through the ASAM criteria, but and they're constantly adapting that because things are constantly coming out. But it's hard. It's hard to do that. Like it's not a thing where here you take this med and then within 3 months we know that the likelihood is it's going to be gone completely. Because in 3 months or 6 months or a year or 5 years, I've had people that were sober for 15 years or they were doing well, relapse. Something happened. They got triggered. Whatever. So there's no real way of curing. Mental health doesn't go away. You always have mental health. It's whether it takes over your life or it doesn't, right? If you learn how to live with it and live a happy life knowing that you're struggling, right? So it's kind of deep. So anyway, so going back to the insurance companies, that's kind of the way that they look at it. They look at it and says, well, why am I going to cover this patient? How many treatment stints or episodes are they going to have within their lifespan, right? They can have 40. And treatment isn't cheap. It's expensive. It could be.
Typically, how much is a treatment center?
I mean, you're looking at $30,000 to $50,000. You have ones that charge 10, but regardless, $10,000 in a month, or 20, or 30, or 50, or 100. It's a lot of money, right? Because it's not one treatment. When they look at it, they see that patient can be in this type of a setting with that type of an expense over 20 times throughout their life. Right. So not everybody, but there are ones that go to treatment once and they figured it out, whatever it is. Right. So that's the way they look at it. Right. So their role now, or in their eyes, they're not saying, okay, like we're going to provide unlimited coverage for these patients. Because back in the day, you had patients that could stay in treatment for 6 months to a year. Insurance would cover inpatient residential treatment for 3 to 6 months. No question. They would give you 90 days to 6 months of authorization right off the bat. No questions asked. Now you have a huge population of people that now started accessing care. You had the Affordable Care Act, where now it's mandatory to provide coverage for patients. They cannot deny them for pre-existing conditions such as mental health. So now everybody can have access to care. So now they have this huge pool of people that before would not have called asking for insurance coverage for this. Now they are. So the insurance companies are saying, okay, well, we're going to limit how much coverage we're giving. We're going to make it very difficult for you to get the authorization. We're going to give us the ability to come back and take the money within a 7-year period if we want to audit your charts. I'm talking about the facilities directly. So they've created all of these aspects to make it very difficult to work with insurance. Medicaid isn't any different, right? Because it's state money. So the state wants to protect as much money as possible. And so that you working with Medicaid in a lot of ways is much more difficult than working with private insurance. You have to document every 15 minutes. So everything needs to be documented that you do with the patient.
In Medicaid?
And with Medicaid,
Every
every
15
15 minutes
minutes?
needs to be documented. Now you have to document for private insurance for every hour session anyways.
What does that mean? Every 15 minutes you have to go and check their heart rate?
No, every 15 minutes there needs to be a service provided and there needs to be a note for every 15-minute block.
Holy,
Right.
that's a lot.
And typically they're auditing you almost every year. And so
Every 15 minutes?
yeah. And so
Why are you brushing over that? That's a big deal.
yeah, it's not. It is and it isn't, because when you have a system in place, it's not. Like, you figure out your system and you just make it work. I mean, their Medicaid program's been around for ever. So it's not like this is something that just came out.
Yeah, I know, but I guess like working at a treatment center before, it's like you only did rounds like that when they were detoxing. Like it was every 30
That's
minutes.
not rounds. So these are sessions. You're having, yeah. So it's like
Wow.
you're having, like, let's say a 45-minute session. You're going to have 3 documentation of notes within, like, what was the first 15 minutes and the second 15 minutes and the third. Because anyways, I'm not going to get into the billing side of stuff, but that's how it works, right? So it's still difficult to work with Medicaid. It's the state. They want to protect every dollar they have so they can repave the roads. And so they make it difficult. Now, I will preface that with saying I don't know how it's going to be moving forward. It's going to be really interesting. I think there's still going to be the nuances of it. I think that they have no choice but to loosen it up a little bit, just a little. I think because if they want players to come into the space and they want to kind of front load the problem that they're dealing with, they're going to have to make it easier for people to enter the space. If they don't, you're not going to have players like ourselves willing and wanting to get into it. You're just going to keep having the Tarzana Treatment Center of the world just expanding and expanding. And so the programming doesn't change. It's stale. It's the same thing. And so they're going to have to come up with a balance of how difficult or easy they make it for companies.
And for the people that are homeless on the street right now, again, I really don't know much about this at all. So do a lot of them already have Medicaid? Are a lot of them insured by Medicare? Not Medicare, Medicaid, Medi-Cal?
A lot of them are, and if they're not, the beauty of going through the hospital system is that you can get Medicaid while you're in the ER, or so like all the social workers and case managers on site, they get everybody insured as soon as they enter into the hospital because they have to get reimbursed. So if you get into the hospital system, you automatically, not automatically, but they get you emergency Medi-Cal and so it's a pretty streamlined process. So it's very hard to find somebody who is homeless who doesn't have insurance. If they don't, then if they enter into the hospital system even once, they'll be able to get it. So now, again, there are some difficulties within county lines because, yes, Medi-Cal is a state-run program, but every county is responsible for their own population. So the contracts we have to develop are with each county separately. So we're not contracting with the state, we're contracting with the county. And so every county is responsible for their own Medi-Cal population. And a lot of times you're going to have patients who, let's say they're in Orange County or Riverside, and they migrate to Santa Monica, and they enter into the LA County system. They have to move their Medi-Cal to LA County instead of Riverside because the state gives funds to each county, and the county has to balance out their funds based off of the Medi-Cal population.
I just got emotional thinking about your clients because I guess I'm used to clients who have this huge support system.
Yeah.
Right? Like family members,
Yeah.
case managers, recovery coaches, right? Sponsors. I don't think this population necessarily has that.
If they do, it's so distant.
Wow.
No, absolutely. That's why I'm so excited about this, because
It's really big.
we can really see change in a population of people who don't really get too many opportunities, right, to be able to get that. Not that I'm not excited about working with clients that have insurance or are well funded. I mean, those are exciting too. Um, but I think, leaving a real impact in the world, it comes from helping the most underprivileged and underserved. So yeah,
I'm just digesting that.
yeah.
It's really so admirable. Like my ex-husband used to be homeless.
Mm,
And so we would go twice a year with our company, not twice a year, but we would go on Christmas to go feed the homeless center that he used to be.
wow.
Um, makes me emotional. Like he would go there on Christmas,
Mm,
and get his food fed to him by people that were doing what we were doing. And it's like, it's those people that you get to really help, because I
mhm.
think everywhere you go, every treatment center, there's going to be someone that is there that doesn't really want to be there. But then there's those people that are there and they're putting everything on the line to build their life and to create a family. And the fact that you're offering that to people, it's huge. I'm really shocked a lot of other people haven't done it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
so,
me too. When I was first exploring it, I was like,
yeah.
why? Because that's like the curiosity syndrome in a sense, right? In a sense where like there's such an open hole here, like it's just wide open. Like,
Yeah.
why hasn't anybody really done anything about it?
Well, I guess I'm curious, like, the clients that the people, I hate saying clients, the individuals that you're taking, are they people, like, is there going to be a certain type of criteria where you have to turn them down if they are like if they are violent?
No, I mean that we don't. I don't know yet, so I don't want to answer that fully and honestly, because it depends on our assessment criteria. But I will state that the contract and license we're going after is to deal with severe mental health. So
Wow.
I mean, again, I don't know if we're gonna if they're if they're actively suicidal, if they're actively if they're actively psychotic, or whether it be drug induced or not, they're still going to have to go to the hospital setting, and they're still going to have to get cleared and either 5150 or cleared by a physician at the hospital, right? So I think that's still going to be part of our protocol. If they're violent, that I don't know yet, and how we're going to interpret that assessment. So we'll see. But I will preface this by saying that we are trying to get licensed and accredited and move forward with the population that is severe mental health um, in a residential setting. So,
Ugh, I'm so excited for you.
yeah,
I had
no, it
no
is.
idea.
I mean, more to be revealed. I mean, obviously, this is still fresh,
I'm
and
not excited. I won't get excited. I won't get excited. I'm just kidding.
no. I'm excited it's happening. I'm saying it's more to be revealed in a sense of like I'm really curious how we're gonna have to adapt, not only from a staffing model, because we modeled out the staffing, we modeled everything out, but it's gonna be interesting how we're gonna have to adjust and how we're gonna might have to shift certain things, and at the same time, what our outcomes are gonna be measured and how they're gonna be measured, right? I'm really excited to see what comes with our outcome measurements and seeing if we can replicate that and expand and grow. Um, I don't think that there's really anything that's out there like this right now, and if there is, nobody really knows about it. Where again, residential setting, nice properties, stuff like that. So I'm curious to see how the environment impacts the mental well being of a client coming in. And I'm really excited if we get those types of clients that are going to be with us for 6 months to a year, right? Because we're always in the private sector, we're always pushing for long-term care, right? There's no you know, magic gummy you can take, or magic pill that you can take that is going to uh, cure you of anything that has to do with mental health or substance use, right? It's all about longevity and sticking through with programming and structure and community and all these wonderful things. And so in the private sector, it's very hard to do that because insurance companies don't usually cover for that long. So I think we're given a really cool opportunity with this project. So
When do you anticipate it being ready to open?
September 1st,
Holy moly.
September, October, yeah.
Are you going to do,
Do
I don't know, like,
grand opening?
yeah.
No,
No, you don't do that.
no. It doesn't need it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm really excited about from a branding, marketing standpoint. That's my forte.
It's so emotional. I'm sorry.
No,
It's really like, I think we take for granted our support systems, that there are people out there that don't have family and they
yeah,
don't have anyone fighting for them.
nothing.
And the only person that's fighting for them is themselves. And so, like,
It's not even that. I mean, think about like all the people that make fun of or ridicule. I mean, or hate this population.
I remember again, I was
Very
at,
sad.
it's so sad.
Very
I
sad.
was at Gelson's one time, and it's so interesting, right? I went outside and I looked at this homeless woman and she was so hungry. And I went inside and she didn't ask me for anything, but I just went inside and I got her some food. I came back out and I gave it to her and I just like stared into her eyes and she was not well. She was not mentally well at all. And I just gave her a long hug. And
Mm.
I just and when I told that to somebody, and like to what they said, it's probably true, but like the first thing they said was, "Oh, that's nice, Rach, but you probably shouldn't do that."
Mm.
They're probably like they probably have diseases. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And I'm just like, on some level,
Yeah, that's true.
it's true, but on the
Mhm.
other level, it's like they just want to feel like they belong there.
Human.
Human. They just want to feel like they're
Yeah.
human.
I mean, listen, everybody gets caught in that emotional state. I mean, I've myself. I mean, had run-ins in situations with the homeless population that particular individual was either in the midst of a psychotic break or whatever, and was running after it. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, this crazy man. I mean, like,
Yeah.
get out of here, right? And so. But then you're pulling everybody that's in this situation with that one person, right? Not everybody who's homeless is going to be that guy running after you with a knife, right?
I've seen that.
Right. Not everybody is going to be that, that woman that is whatever, right? You can't pull the entire population within those individuals. And again, even with the biases I have in those moments and either the fear or the anger or whatever it is, it doesn't necessarily mean that I don't want to help them, right? And so I think we're too quick to judge and pull people together into a group and as a society. And I think we need to take a step back and say, you know what? Yes, there are going to be those outliers where they're going to make you feel fearful. They steal, they rob, they do a lot of other things, and it can be scary. But that doesn't mean that they don't deserve help, and it doesn't mean that they don't deserve to be treated as a human, whether it be from the legal system or from a mental health care system or just from human to human level. So, so I agree, and I'm really excited about this. So,
It's nice to hear you excited.
yeah, yeah,
Wow. Well, I'm blown away. I'm honored to like you be your partner in something
yeah,
like in a podcast,
that's awesome.
but like to watch you do this and I mean, I see you like all the time and you never mentioned it. It's really cool that you can keep that all in but I get why. You can scratch that from the episode too. But anyway, thank you everyone for listening to the Got Mental Health podcast. I want to, I guess, tell people, because when this comes out, like where can people find this information about this facility?
More to be revealed.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll add more to the episode later on.
Sounds good.
Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for all of your comments. If you are in need of any type of mental health support, I think you should, can they go to amhealthcare.com?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do have, whether we are an appropriate program for you or not, we will still answer the call. We'll still give you resources. So don't be afraid to call.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you for listening, and we will touch base with you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.